Let's talk about the Steelers depth chart today. I have some things I need to get off my chest. Maybe you have some things you need to get off your chest. Let's do it. Let's go. I'm Ron John. This is Steelers Therapy. Let's talk depth chart. Okay, we've got the depth chart up for the Pittsburgh Steelers as of today, which is the 9th of July, 2024. And let's go over with a fine-tooth comb and see what this really is. What do we really have in the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers? So let's start with offense here. Let's start with the quarterback position. So from a quarterbacking perspective, we have Russell Wilson is our starter, Justin Fields is our backup, and Kyle Allen, who is kind of a known commodity. He's backed up a few people. And then behind him is some guy, I don't know, John Plumlee or something like that, probably just a practice squad camp arm. So as we look at the quarterbacks here, PFF has put us in the bottom of the AFC North as far as power rankings go for QBs. And you can see kind of why. Lamar Jackson, I think, is a two-time MVP. He's shown that he's explosive, that he's got all the tools, all the skills. He's young. He's at the top of his game. Joe Burrow, although we haven't seen a lot from Joe Burrow lately because he was injured last year, when he has played, he's been in the top of the league. Extremely explosive, great arm, came out of college with a ton of pedigree. So it's simple to see both of those teams ahead of us. As far as the Cleveland Browns go, Deshaun Watson really only had that one magnificent season, and it was a season that the Houston Texans didn't play well. I think they only won a handful of games, and since then he hasn't been good at all. So, to put the Steelers in the basement, I would actually put the Browns in the basement. Russell Wilson certainly had, a bit of a hiccup in Denver. Didn't fulfill his contract like he wanted, like the Denver Broncos wanted. But ultimately, you can't put the whole thing on Russell Wilson. The team just wasn't any good. Sean Payton isn't that good of a coach. There wasn't a lot of talent. There probably wasn't a lot of good coaching. So Russell Wilson, is a bit of a question mark, but he's shown that he can deliver the goods, that he's a Super Bowl winner. And he's going to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, we've got as a backup Justin Fields, who has been a starter, has taken over games, has all the tools to be a Lamar Jackson-like quarterback. Haven't really seen that because of the system he was in Chicago and the poor overall management and play of that team. So we kind of have two question marks at quarterback. Again, Russ is going to get the start. This is miles better than what we had last year. Last year, if you remember, we had Kenny Pickett, who we were forcing as a starter, who's probably a lower tier backup in the league. And then we had, a halfway decent backup in Mason Rudolph. That was it. And that was a team that got to the playoffs. So ultimately, this is a much better position to be in. All Steelers fans should be ecstatic about where the quarterback position is now, opposed to where we thought it was going to be. So that's good. We go over to running back here. We've got Najee Harris, number 1, Jaylen Warren, number 2, Cordell Patterson, number 3. So a couple things here. I've said this before. You guys know how I feel about it. Najee Harris is not the better runner. Jaylen Warren is the better runner. Jaylen Warren is the ascending runner, becoming one of the better runners in the league. Najee Harris, while he did have a decent last half of the season last year, he's really just too slow. He's not explosive enough. And he's slow. So he's got no acceleration and he's got no second gear. Jaylen Warren has both of those things. Jaylen Warren's stats are better. His yards per carry, his success rate, everything you look at, Jaylen Warren's better. What I'm hoping is that the Steelers are going to do more of a 50-50 this year instead of, a 70-30 or 80-20, whatever they were doing last year. Jaylen Warren needs to get the football. So I think they've got a strong running back tandem here because Najee Harris isn't a bad running back. He's just more middling or maybe just slightly below middle. We'll see. We'll see how good he does this year. He should be motivated as it is a contract year for him. So really like these two running the football. Probably one of the best duos in the NFL. So that's a good thing. And then also, they're backed up by Cordell Patterson. Now, he is older. He's been in the league quite a while, but Cordell Patterson has been nothing but good for teams. He's run the ball well. He's been reliable. He's a great third running back. So really just a strong running back core for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a far, more upgraded quarterback position. So from those two perspectives, we're going to be in great shape. The Steelers don't typically employ a fullback very much, so we won't talk about the fullback position. Let's go to the tight end position. Pat Freiermuth is a great pass catcher. He's just a great pass catcher, but he's not a great blocker. He's probably more average, slightly below average as a blocker. Hopefully he's getting coaching, putting on some muscle, able to be that better blocker. But again, one of the better tight end playmakers in the league. Good to have him on. We've got Darnell Washington, who's just a huge human being. He's, again, great to have. Going to be a good end zone threat. We didn't really use him last year as an end zone threat. Hopefully this year we'll utilize him more. We've seen what Connor Hayward can do. Connor Hayward is a reliable tight end. I think he catches the ball pretty well. He blocks pretty well. So really a solid tight end group here. So again, thinking from a QB running back tight end group, I think it's going to be better than last year. And I think it's fairly reasonable to say that. Okay, transitioning to the offensive line. Troy Fontanu. He's our first round pick in 2024. You never really know what you have in a rookie. They're definitely probably going to start him. We have Dan Moore Jr., who has starting experience. But I think he's going to be buried behind Broderick Jones, and they are going to start Troy. So hopefully the position's going to be upgraded there. He's a first-round pick. We expect him to come in and play well, but it might take him some time. James Daniels is a known commodity, came from Chicago and free agency. He's getting paid pretty well. He's one of the better paid players on the roster. He needs to deliver. He had an okay season last season, but he needs to deliver this season. At center, we have a rookie in Zach Frazier. So we could potentially have two rookies starting offensive linemen. And, this one worries me just a little bit. Zach Frazier's pedigree is, a second-round pick. Can he come in and start? We don't want to see the same thing happen that happened a few years ago when we started that third-round center who was really short for Big Ben during his last season that didn't work out. Hopefully he's going to be the guy. We do have Nate Herbig behind him who has starting experience, but the center position I'm a tad bit worried about. Isaac Seumalo. Yep, Isaac Seumalo. He's pretty good. He came from Philadelphia. Jason Kelsey sang his praises when he came over from Philadelphia. He's, again, a known commodity. He should be able to really solidify the line on the left position there. And then we've got Broderick Jones, who should really be taking a step forward after his rookie season. And also, some depth as far as the offensive line goes. Dan Moore Jr., he certainly had some bad games, but he's got a ton of starting experience, and he's good depth for us to have. Some of these other names, again, Mason McCormick, he's a rookie this year. We've got Spencer Anderson, who was a rookie last year. Dylan Cook, who was a rookie last year. So a lot of young players on the offensive line, starting or with depth. And really analyzing the offensive line as a whole, to me, it's a big question mark. I do think it's going to be improved from last year, but I think it's going to take that unit time to find its rhythm and to start to learn to work together. There isn't a ton of time together, in rookie OTAs and training camp and stuff like that to really get this offensive line gelling. I think it's likely going to gel in the second half of the season, and it could be a weakness in the front half. But nothing but blue skies ahead, given the amount of young talent on this offensive line. Maybe it will surprise us, but something that we should look out for that could be a little bit of a risk for the Steelers in the beginning part of the season. So let's go over to the wide receiver position. This is where I'm very worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens is an ascending number one wide receiver. He's at the top of the league in yards per reception last year. He's shown that he can hit 1,000 yards a season. He can make all the catches. He makes fantastic catches, but he's still a little bit immature, and he hasn't really proven that he's in the top half of the league as far as number one wide receivers go. Hopefully, we're going to get that this year. But anyway, he's great to have as a number one wide receiver, so we have him there. The problem is we don't have a two. And if you look here, our number two is either Van Jefferson or the slot in Roman Wilson. And Roman Wilson's a rookie. Van Jefferson he came over from Atlanta. I think he was with the Rams at some point. He's nothing special. He came over with our new offensive line coach. So I think it's just a big risk here because you've got a number one in George Pickens. And then if we look, we got Calvin Austin Jr., Scotty Miller, Quez Watkins from the Philadelphia Eagles, Dez Fitzpatrick, and then some guys I don't even know who they are. Marquez Callaway, Deuce Watts. This wide receiver depth, it's fine for 3, 4, 5, but there is nobody here that even sniffs out a number two wide receiver. So the Steelers are going to struggle unless they get somebody, because if I'm playing the Steelers and I'm any team, I'm doubling George Pickens, and I'm going to make Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin Jr., Quez Watkins. I'm going to make those guys beat me. And I don't have a lot of faith that those guys are going to be the ones that carry the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's a significant risk. Hopefully Omar Khan has it on his radar, but that's what I'm worried about is the wide receiver position. The offensive line is going to work itself out. The running back position will be strong. The QB position is going to be way better than it was last year. But as far as receiving goes, this is a key risk for the Steelers. So let's go ahead and look at the defense now. All right. Who do we want to start? Let's start from the top. Let's start with the defensive line. So we have Larry Ogunjobi. He's a known commodity, came from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's had some injuries, but boy, he's a good player. Keanu Benton, who was a star rookie last year, I think he's going to have an ascending great year this year. Cameron Hayward is a little bit of a question mark. He's getting older. He's 35 years old. He was injured last year. He's getting towards a contract year, so he could be incentivized to play well, but age gets us all. And it's hard to imagine he's going to be as good as he always was at 35. Does he need to be as good as he always has been? No. He can just play, good solid play. And if he does that and Keanu Benton ascends, Larry Ogunjobi is who he is, I think the Steelers' defensive line should be pretty decent. I like Loudermilk and Montravius Adams is depth. And we've got Dean Lowry as depth. And DeMarvin Lee, who's played some and showed some flashes. So I think the Steelers have a good defensive line here that's going to be competitive, and I think we've got good depth. On to the linebackers. So obviously TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the game. It's not Myles Garrett, and anybody that says that's a fanboy. All you have to do is look at the statistics, and all you have to do is then contextualize those statistics and not use fake stats, which PFF uses. Those aren't real. They're subjective stats. We use real stats in the big boy world. And TJ Watt is the best player in the NFL, so it's great to have him. We got Patrick Queen. Let's stick to outside linebackers. Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith is a really good player. That's why the Steelers paid him. He's got a great attitude, and he didn't play quite as well as he probably wanted to last year. So hopefully this year he's going to be incentivized to really step it up so he can continue to see all that money come from his contract because he didn't quite play to his contract last year. But he's still good. As far as depth at the outside linebacker position, boy, this kid Nate Herbig, he's undersized, but he is nasty. He's really good. He's quick. He gets around the corner. He's great depth to have. Kyron Johnson, again, really good depth to have. So, feeling pretty good about the outside linebacker position. If we go to the inside linebacker, we got Patrick Queen from the Ravens. Patrick Queen is a really good inside linebacker. Just kind of was at that point where the Ravens had to pay other people and they couldn't quite pay him and thought he was, replaceable. So the Steelers got him, and boy, did we need him. The Steelers haven't had really good talent at the inside position since Ryan Shazier, pretty much. So it's really great to see Patrick Queen there. We've got Cole Holcomb more in a backup position, which is, rightfully so where he should be. Bringing back a Landon Roberts from injury. Again, he's going to be a little bit of a question mark as far as how good he's going to be. We've got Peyton Wilson behind him, who is a rookie, and Mark Robinson, who's, we've seen him play the inside position a little bit. So the depth's okay. It's not bad. Definitely the position is better than it was last year. And that's what's key. So really good things to see across the middle linebacker position. Overall, defensive line and linebacker position, I think the Steelers are in great shape. Now on to the secondary. So Joey Porter Jr. is the Steelers' number one cornerback. He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year. I'm calling it now, and it's not a hard thing to call. He's really good. He can lock down number ones. He plays tough. Yeah, he gets some penalties a little bit more than you'd like, but you don't see his receivers he's covering catching touchdowns, and that's what's key. So we've got him there. We've got Deshaun Elliott at the strong safety position. Miles Killebrew backing him up. This tandem isn't my favorite. Deshaun Elliott it can play, certainly. Probably not one of the better tandems in the league as far as, starter backup, but good enough to get the job done. Minkah Fitzpatrick with DeMonte KZ behind him. I think that's a great duo. Minkah really needs to step up this year to his contract. Did not play to his contract last year. So really looking forward to him stepping up his play. Guys backing up Joey Porter Jr., Darius Rush. I've seen him play a little bit. He's okay. I don't know much about him. Again, a little bit more of a question mark in Darius Rush. And then we've got, Anthony Everett, who's a rookie this year. So maybe not the greatest depth behind Joey Porter Jr., but hopefully he's young. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to be in the game. On the other side of the ball, we've got Dante Jackson. Great upgrade. Really good cover corner that we got in a trade for Deontay Johnson. And I think he's really going to help reinforce the quarterback or cornerback position. Behind him, Corey Trice Jr., I think we drafted him last year, or he was a practice squad or unrestricted free agent. He's actually looked pretty good in some of the times we've seen him in OTAs and in the game. So hopefully he'll be able to come in and provide some relief when needed. And ultimately, we've got the nickelback position. Now, you're going to see Cameron Sutton after the first 8 games. He's suspended for the first 8 games. And Cameron Sutton in this position is really good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's one of the best slot corners in the league. And when he's playing in a slot corner position and not on the outside, he's really good. However, he's in trouble. He's suspended. So the Steelers, we have a weakness here at slot corner. And, with Braylon Arnold, Beanie Bishop, Josiah Scott, nobody that... you're talking rookies and Braylon Arnold here. It's going to be a problem for the Steelers, and teams are going to target that slot corner. And Terrell Austin needs to be aware, and he needs to be cognizant of the teams are going to be doing that. So I think overall the secondary is improved this year for sure. But with Cameron Sutton out and no depth at the slot position, it's a significant risk. That's where I think our risk is on the defense. So, okay, pivoting to special teams. As far as punters go, we brought in this Cameron Johnston. I don't know much about him. I have to look at his punting and net punting stats, but certainly should be better than Presley Harvin Jr., which was, just a disaster. Who the hell is picking draft picks for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Geez, oh man. drafting a punter and the punter becomes consistently one of the worst punters in the league in Presley Harvin Jr. So it's a good thing he's out. Hopefully this Cameron Johnston's going to be better. We've got Chris Boswell kicking the ball for us. Boz is always good. He tends to have down years every so often, but he's a reliable kicker and he's got some leg. And we've got Matthew Wright backing him up. So don't know much. Actually, I think Matthew Wright it says here he's a rookie, but I think we've had him on the team before backing up Chris Boswell. Anyway, the Steelers usually have a few guys they can go to if we need to, but they don't have long legs like Boswell. So, but anyway, having Boswell there is really key for us and steadies that position. Christian Kuntz is a long snapper. Hopefully he'll still be pretty good. And then as far as a punt returner, Calvin Austin Jr., really haven't seen a ton from him in the punt return game. He's very small. Feels like you could breathe on him and tackle him. I'd like to see something out of him, but we'll see what comes of it. And then as a kick returner, Cordell Patterson, that's something he's done his whole career. So hopefully he can get us some pretty good starting field position when and if he gets opportunities. Okay, I feel a little bit better getting this off my chest as far as the Steelers depth chart goes. My takeaways are that the Steelers have a risk at the wide receiver position. We don't have a number 2 wide receiver, and the talent that we have, 3, 4, 5, and so on, isn't all that impressive. It's not terrible. Guys like Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin Jr., Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller, but again, they're 4s, 5s, maybe 3s. We don't have a solid number 2. And George Pickens, while he is good, he is a number 1. He's still ascending. He's in the bottom of the number 1s, or bottom half, I should say. So he's still kind of ascending to get there. And Russell Wilson's going to need somebody to throw the football to. I think the offensive line is going to be fine once they get going and get some experience together, especially since they're so young. And ultimately, the upgrade in the quarterback position is going to propel that offense to be better than it ever was last year. So I think that those are good things to look forward to. As far as the defense goes, the Steelers getting Patrick Queen and shoring up the middle of the linebacking core is critical. I think it's really going to make our linebacking core one of the best in the league. The defensive line is a stalwart. It should be still pretty good and deliver for us. Really where the Steelers are going to have risk is in the slot corner position. We don't have anybody there for the first 8 games, with Cameron Sutton being out for half the season. So people are going to be game planning around that. So I think as long as the offensive and defensive coordinator, Mike Tomlin, really understand these risks and can mitigate them and go into games mitigating them, this team could really be good this year. And I think it could be a team that actually could win a playoff game. So that's something to really look forward to. And I look forward to seeing it happen this season. So anyway, once again, I'm Ron John. This is Steelers Therapy. Until next time.